And there we are. Hey, everybody, welcome to the F64 Lunch Bunch, which is this crazy idea several of us had to just get us all back together again through cyberspace so we can maintain social distancing just fine. Dixie can change hats as often as she wants to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Lori was going to have kids climbing all over her.
Baby.
But your daughter made it home early, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay. So for anybody just joining us, I'm just going to go through in the order of my screen. I've got Steve Brazill and from Southern California. We got
Hi, everyone.
Dixie Dixon. Dixie wave, just in case you didn't know Dixie is. Is that a target on your wall behind
Yes.
you? Okay.
I'm from Texas.
All right, I got it.
My accent throwing there.
I got it. I wanted to buy a plaque once that said, "We don't call 911" with it. It's just got a photograph of a pistol on it. Melissa Ghionis, not Ghionis, Melissa Ghionis. Then we've got Lori Nordstrom and Chamira Young. And Lori's in Iowa. Melissa's in Vegas, Dixie's in Texas, Chamira's in Detroit, I'm in South Florida, and Steve's in Southern California, and that pretty much covers the same challenge that everybody is dealing with. And I guess what I love most about doing this series is that I am frustrated, anxious, irritated, pissed off, and tired of everybody trying to argue over whose crystal ball is more accurate with this thing. We're stuck. We're all in the same boat. We've all got the same challenges. And the whole purpose of the S64 Lunch Bunch is to give you ideas of things you might be able to do during the downtime so it doesn't just become downtime. The expression hunker down doesn't mean you've got to hide from your clients and your business. It just references being safe and doing the things you need to do to get through the pandemic and the coronavirus. And I do look back on the good old days now of Corona just being one of my favorite beers, which obviously that's changed. So let's just start out and throw the question out there right now of what are some of the things that you're doing to keep busy. And because of something that happened yesterday, if everybody's okay, I'm going to start with Lori on that question, and then just anybody jump in. What are the three of you doing to keep busy and maintain a combination of sanity and relationships with your clients?
Well, and that notification going off is mine. I just shut everything down, so I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry. But I will say that it's been interesting to see everybody's projects that they're doing during quarantine. I don't know what that is because I have been super busy. It's I don't know. It's very interesting. But the thing that I did yesterday that I chatted with Skip briefly about was just getting other local businesses together. And I just feel like it's really important at this time as small business owners that we keep staying in front of our clients, keep showing up. And that for me has been not just clients, but community as well. And so bringing other local businesses together has been something that I've gotten a lot of, been able to serve that way. So that's been a way to give and kind of take the focus off of the issues. But getting them together, yesterday was our first meeting, and we had like 42 registered, but 36 show up, and which I thought was really good numbers of just local businesses. I'm in a small area. For those of you that don't know, my town that I've been in for a little over 20 years is 5,500 people. So a small town. But with those business owners, really our focus was, how can we support each other right now? And how can we serve our community? How can we keep showing up? And so it was just great to get that conversation started. And yes, there's fear. Yes, there's uncertainty. Those things are going to happen. None of us know when this is going to be over. But what can we do in the meantime? Because it will be over at some point. And those of us that are buried, put our heads in the sand, sit around, suck our thumb, whatever's happening right now, that people are turning to, and like I said, it's okay to have those feelings, but have them and move on. and see where you can look out and serve and keep showing up, like I said. So, yeah.
Steve, I'm sorry, Lori. Steve, can you bring up that screenshot of Lori's?
Yep, it's up right now.
There's
Wow.
When I tried to catch Lori yesterday, this is what she was in the middle of and said, "I'll call you back as soon as I'm done." And
yeah. And you know, Zoom will only let you hold so many on a screen at a time. There was 2 screens of these women just really involved, and it just so grateful to be able to come together. And I think, you know, there's organizations in every single area, but if you can step up, anyone who's listening can do this, you know, just step up as a leader and bring people together. And, you know, and I love the law of reciprocity, but it's not even something to think about right now. You know, we're just doing this because it's the right thing to do. And of course, later, I hope that people remember that I did this, but I don't care. It's about the moment and stepping up and serving and showing up.
You know what I love is the one that's the person that's right underneath you in this screenshot, the back wall with color coordinated Post-it notes. That's a person after my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, will you be doing this more than once?
Yeah, we will be meeting again. And of course we kind of threw it together last minute. And so there were some people that couldn't come. And I think after everyone's there and kind of feels the value and just the community of being together as business owners and what we're all going through together, everyone's going to invite someone else. So it will continue to grow. And, you know, and I think out of this, one of the big things that I like to look at is following leaders like Michael Hyatt. I'm a big Michael Hyatt fan. And he always says, through every crisis, there's possibility. And so the people that come out on the other side of it have been looking for the possibility throughout. And I think that's it's something that just being able to step in as a leader to support other women as they're looking for possibilities of ways that they can show up for their communities and their clients right now. You know, that's really what it's all about. And yeah, I think it'll grow. And I think that possibility will be on the other side of it, where these women will want to keep meeting and keep coming together. And, you know, whether it's projects for the community, I don't know what it looks like in the future, but it's exciting.
I want to read something real quick. This was from, you just talked about being super busy and all these other things that everybody is doing. I was on the phone with Vanessa Joy yesterday, and she told me this. I said, do me a favor and just give me a 1-paragraph email. And she said, because of COVID-19, while all of my weddings and events are postponed, I've had an insane, all capital letters, surge in people wanting online video education. Since I do that regularly for Adorama and my own YouTube channel, it's right up my alley. I've been partnering with companies to do Instagram lives, product-centric videos, and much more. The demand for online content is wildly booming. And if you don't think it is, everybody, try and get a hold of anybody from Zoom on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, Zoom is, they're not necessarily overloaded, but everybody around the planet is using Zoom. And that's an interesting note that you just said, because I'm going to go back to my buddy Troy that's in the attendee room, because Troy's a wedding photographer. And same thing, where when you have weddings being postponed and you have people trying to not only postpone them, but find new dates, not knowing when to book the date. And so Troy is now doing, for our local photography group and for something, some other projects that he does, he's actually doing a lot of online training as well. It's a way to get busy. It's a way to get involved in your community, like Lori was saying. In her case, correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, but those weren't all photographers either, right? It's businesses of all type. So there's ways to get involved in this virtually that just help all businesses.
One other idea that plays off of Lori's. I know she's got a new married maid now, but Dawn Shields is over in, where is she? Kansas City, St. Louis. I think it's St. Louis. She started doing a lunch, a regular luncheon. Now, she's a wedding photographer and did a regular luncheon where she invited all the vendors in the community that had a common target. So picture being a wedding photographer and you're doing a networking luncheon, and you're bringing in the local baker, you're bringing in a wedding planner, a gown place, travel agent, spa, limo company. There's so many different companies. Whoa, I just got a thing on my computer here that says my network connection is unstable.
Well, you look good to me.
I'm still here, thank you. But the point was that they were
unstable.
Yeah, they would all get
They
together
know you
for
so
lunch.
well.
They would all get together for lunch just to talk about the business. And imagine the power as a wedding photographer if you were sitting next to the florist and being able to do some cross promoting. Well, I think the same possibility is there right now in terms of internet and cyberspace demands. So that's it. Melissa, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll add, oh, sorry, Melissa.
Yeah, you're good.
As I say, I'll add one more thing to that before I shut up. But other businesses built my business. Those partnerships. It was something that was really important to me back in the day when I was very first starting. I was on location in the beginning, and this has been many moons ago, but I was all on location and I didn't have a studio storefront at that time. And so it was important to me to get my work displayed in other businesses. And those partnerships were really what put me on the map. And so I've really, really always believed in the power of relationships with other businesses that are already serving my target client. I want to build relationships there so then I can show up for their people. And so that's another thing that comes from this is a lot of those were relationships that were already built, but they're also ones that are, you know, they'll go into the future of people that as we recommend each other, it's not a formal networking group. It's just this other business owners getting together. And if nothing else, what's happening right now has been the great leveler. You know, we're all in the same place right now as small business owners. So I'll shut up now.
Melissa, what were you going to say?
I was going to just say, agree with Lori in that, you know, we've been so slammed. I think we're now, this is probably, I think, week 3 that we've been in self-isolation under our governor's orders. So we've been just slammed with work because we've been catching up on so many projects that we weren't able to do for so long. I actually yesterday said to Jerry, like, we have to schedule an off day because we've been working nonstop. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. We haven't left our house and we just need to have a day off yesterday. And it's all of those things that you're trying to constantly play catch up with when you're taking care of your clients, when you're shooting weddings, because like everybody else, all of our weddings and all of our portraits have all been canceled or postponed through mid-May so far. And I suspect it'll go, you know, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we've been doing all of the things like doing our album plans and updating all of our marketing materials, because like Lori said, you know, it's those connections that help your marketing go on. You know, everyone talks about trying to attract new clients. When you've been in business for a while, you realize that your best clients are the ones that have already worked with you before, because they have that trust with you. But we don't always follow up with those clients because we're so busy, and we know that we should, but we don't. So even just getting on the phone and reaching out to your clients and making sure they're okay and seeing how they're doing and how their families are doing, and catching up with the vendors that you're used to working with and seeing how they're doing, because not everyone is going to be doing that. So having that connection with them and solidifying that relationship with them will also help you down the road, just being human about it. And, you know, part of that too is just remembering to just stay connected with other people. You know, this Zoom call that Lori just did, I've been doing that even with my photography friends, having a cocktail hour, because, you know, you're used to catching up with people and now you're not, and you haven't talked to anybody. So, you know, Tuesday at 5 o'clock, let's all jump on Zoom and have a cocktail together, or whatever it is, but just maintaining that so you don't go crazy yourself as well. But there's so much time now to update your website, to get all of your marketing materials, because this is a little bit different than, say, a normal recession, in that there are a lot of people that are still working. They're just working from home. You know, we're a small business. Most of us are small businesses, so it's hurting us. But a lot of people are just working from home, which means they've got the cash flow. They just have nowhere to spend it. So when this is all done, it may not take as long to go back to normal as, say, a traditional recession, because everyone's going to want to get out there. Everyone's going to want to celebrate life and be together again. And the photography industry is, I believe, going to go through a big boom when everyone's going to want those family portrait sessions, and they're going to be rescheduling all of those weddings. So I think we're all going to be slammed as soon as this finishes. So we need to prepare ourselves right now to get ready for that.
And that's the key, actually, is being prepared. You know, if you're taking this as off time, that's a totally different thing. But if you take this time to do those things that you always say I need to do and get caught up, then you'll be ready to hit the ground running when everybody else, caught off guard's the wrong phrase, but I think you know what I mean. You know, everybody else is a little bit behind because they're kind of in a down mode. Daniel actually in the Q&A made an interesting statement, and that is, we're in week 5 of staying home, and I can feel the power of people going down. And that's going to happen. People, the energy of people as we get through, like at the radio station I work at, we've been told now, okay, don't come in until the end of April, and we're doing voice tracking. And, by the time you've been home for a long period of time, that energy is going to go down more. When we get free, everybody's going to just want to run out the door and go do things as their budget allows. So you have to be prepared. I do want to mention Jerry commented on my voice. Thank you, Jerry. John Cornicello is in there as well. So welcome to everybody that's in the attendee list. I'm curious, Dixie, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I feel like I had to take a few days just to process this. This is a lot. But I find that in moments like this, it's really nice to get clear about your vision, because sometimes we get so caught up in work and getting stuff to clients and stuff like that. For me, this has been a time of getting centered and figuring out where do I want to go with my business? What am I most passionate about? So I've been researching a lot of clients that I want to shoot for in the future, getting, vision boards together, mood boards for future shoots. It's crazy. I just wrapped a job. I won a really big production right after this happened. So, it was kind of interesting timing. So I had to basically get everything done for that. And then I had all of my productions, my future productions. I had 2 in LA right after that. All of them have been postponed. So I think it's a really good time, like you said, Melissa, to update your website, think about online courses, selling presets. If you think about it, I mean, if you guys, if you sell $100 product, 1,000 of them, that's $100,000 right there. I mean, there's ways to make revenue right now in our businesses if we dig deep. And I feel like this is kind of like a spiritual awakening for a lot of people in this industry. So it's been a really fun, adventure to dig deep and try to figure out ways to be creative in your photography and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm updating my website. I'm trying to figure out how to do video editing. I have so many ideas that I want to do, and it's just figuring out how to, organize all of that. So
Dixie, I have a question for you. I'm curious, with your commercial clients that you have, how are you keeping in touch with them? I feel like the process is probably a little bit different with families versus commercial. So what are you doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've tried to keep updated through emailing and just kind of even texting, Instagram. It's kind of similar to what you guys do. I mean, it's that personal relationship, I think, that really keeps your clients coming back. And so the more you can engage with them in a human way and not so much business right now, it's more about just keeping those personal connections. It's very similar, I'd say, to the family and portrait and wedding business. So
the other thing that we've taken the time to do, which has been awesome actually, and especially Jerry, is we've completely cleaned out our entire studio. Because when you're going through and you start putting things back and everything, because we don't have any sessions at all for the foreseeable next several weeks, we literally took everything out of cupboards, put everything back in the order, got rid of so much stuff and put stuff aside to get rid of later. And Jerry finally finished late last night, and it was amazing to walk in, and it kind of gets you really excited to get back into your space again. He did the same thing in the office. So it's all completely cleared out. All of the extra stuff that you accumulate over time, just things that you don't have time to do. And it was very cathartic to just clear all of that out. And now you're in work mode as well. You're ready to work because everything is fresh and clean and neat. And so it's like a mental thing as well to help you really get focused.
I have a closet in my home office that has been loaded with all kinds of gear and batteries. And yesterday I went in and I found I had 2 chargers for Lumix cameras I didn't even know I had anymore. The comment was made last week. We were talking about gear. One thing to do as you clean those closets and as you take care of this, as you take this time to get more organized, think about some of the gear you have that you just don't use anymore, and start to put together a donation for the local high school for the photo club. There's so much gear out there. Come on, everybody knows I don't make a living as a photographer, but that doesn't change how much gear I've got here. And there's plenty of stuff there that I just don't use anymore. And you guys, especially with things like lighting, anybody that's got older studio lights, you've got things that you've upgraded. Some of you were sponsored by different lighting companies and something new came in, the old stuff is there. Think about making a donation to the local high school or junior high school, because they're starving. The other thing, somebody was talking, Melissa, I guess you were talking about keeping in touch and doing the 5 o'clock martini every day on Zoom. Use Facebook. One of the best things, and I've probably wished all of you happy birthday at some time on Facebook. Track all your friends on birthdays. Put your clients in there. Just to be able to send an email that says, or just on the birthday wish list of Facebook, it's a great way to stay in touch with your clients. And if you're a children and family photographer, for example, or you're a wedding photographer, then you know the anniversary dates. The other thing to use is one of these archaic things. This is a landline. I know most people don't know what it is. Yeah, I still have one. But funny thing, I never lose a call. Pick up the phone. And Melissa talked about, you're calling friends, and Lori is, all of you. Pick up the phone and call people. Right now, it is more appreciated than ever. And every day I've been doing 2 or 3 calls to people. In fact, it was kind of funny. On Sunday, I got a call from Bob Coates saying he read a secret message in my Sunday post that said, call Skip. And Bob and I keep in touch. This is a great way to take advantage of this thing we call communication. And when we're busy, we all lose track of each other. Well, now is the time to get back in touch with each other. And it's nothing more than a phone call.
Well, and the other thing is, when we're in business mode, meaning doors open, we tend to target all of our communication for a business need. And now is the opportunity, Melissa mentioned it earlier, the more human side of it. Be human. Now's the opportunity for you to send out a quote-unquote business email to all of your past clients or future clients, not mentioning business at all. Just, I know these times are weird. I hope that everybody's doing okay. Please stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon. It's a great opportunity to kind of just use it. And yes, it will come back to you at some point from a business point of view, but right now, not gearing it as a business message has its own advantages from a business point of view. PC in the Q&A, and by the way, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, if you move your mouse over the Zoom window, there's a Q&A at the bottom, and that's where you can ask questions. And PC said an interesting one, and I don't know if it's a he or a she, so I apologize, but they said, there has been a paradigm shift in the way the real estate business is going to be able to survive. I was just contacted by one of my local agents, and there is a massive need for video to showcase people's homes. As a cinematographer, I have never needed to edit anything, but now I see a great opportunity to learn a new skill and now enable me to serve people in a new way and also to make, him or herself more marketable. I'm curious from a photography point of view in the different genres. What do you see people expanding, Chamira, Melissa, Lori, Dixie, what do you see people, Skip too, how do you see people expanding their skill set to set themselves up better actually in the future?
Well, this is a perfect example, and Dixie mentioned it earlier. She wanted to think about learning editing. So this is a perfect time to start that process. And for Paolo as well, it's the same kind of scenario. And, I've seen photographers who are just wedding photographers focus on their portrait game or focus on their maternity game or newborn game and try to expand into other genres instead of just focusing on one genre, because diversity not putting all your eggs into one basket will always be the best path to success. So I think it's brilliant.
Now, I've got kind of an odd one. Yesterday, I sent an email to a photography equipment company just to see how they were doing. And I'd had them on my podcast. I have a photography podcast for those who may not know. And I'd had them on previously. So I just sent an email saying, hey, how you doing? Crazy times. I hope you're staying healthy. And is there anything I can help you with? And they responded back and said that their number one need was actually content in order to keep in touch with their customer base. We both share the same audience, photographers. And he said the only thing that they can really do right now is to keep in touch with them, and they would really love blog content. And I was like, oh, well, I like to write. And so all that to say, another kind of skill that can be useful is writing. Believe it or not, not just writing content for other companies, although there is a need out there, by the way. And it's a great way to kind of form a relationship with an outside company. I was willing to do it for free, full disclosure, and they actually made an offer. I didn't mention any money, and they made an offer. I was like, okay, but so that's one thing, but also even writing to enhance your website or to create case studies to put online or on your blog. Writing and photography really go hand in hand, and right now is, I believe, the perfect time to generate some cool content.
You mentioned your podcast. Can't let you go until you talk about your podcast.
I did not want to pimp my own podcast. Prophotographerjourney.com. And it's called Pro Photographer Journey, a nice long name, I know. I swear that was not my hidden intention to pimp that out, but we do focus on the business side of photography, and we released episode number 220 either yesterday or today. We've got stuff scheduled out in advance, and we've kind of ramped stuff up because of everything that's going on. Lori has been on my podcast, by the way. Shout out to Lori. We just like talking photography stuff. So,
and Daniel in the chat room likes your podcast.
Daniel, shout out to Daniel. Yes, listener.
That's awesome. I mean, I want to tell you congratulations. 220 episodes is nothing to sneeze at.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
In terms of other things to learn now, I made a couple notes as everybody was talking. Joe McNally made the comment that he's using this downtime to finally learn Final Cut Pro. And this is McNally, who we all tend to think of, knows it all. I mean, what else would Joe start to get into? Well, here he is, excited about taking advantage of the downtime just to expand his skill set a little bit more. Also, I think it was Stephen last week that had a suggestion of taking some of your photographs, if you're a children and family photographer especially, taking some of those photographs, throwing them into Photoshop, converting them to line art, and getting those out to your clients as coloring book pages. Anybody that's got little kids at home especially is going nuts right now. Older kids, maybe there's a little bit more you can do, but when you've got young kids at home and the Crayolas can come out, that can really keep them busy, and using their own images would be fun. Then we've got comments that we've made numerous times. This is the perfect time for us to get rid of all the natural light specialists in the world. Just expand their diversity. And I'm laughing because Dixie's got some nice window light there. Learn, every time somebody says that, we all know what they mean. Take advantage of this downtime and start to experiment. You've got the time, experiment with lighting, do some things that are different. Because when this thing is over, and Melissa said it before, we've all said it, it will be over. This way you're going to hit the ground running.
And Anna Johnson, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. To piggyback on what Chamira was saying, writing articles, I've been doing a lot of that as well. And I find it really therapeutic to write about the industry. Online content is so big right now. The magazines are all looking for content. I've been submitting my images to magazines. Actually just got a cover. So everyone's looking for online ways to stay inspired. And I think this is a really good time to do that. So it's a great time to submit to like your dream clients and magazines you want to shoot for.
Yeah. What I was going to say was Anna Johnson in the Q&A said, hi, everybody. Just wanted to stop in today. Located in California. Had to temporarily close her doors due to the virus. Sounds gloomy. However, the plus side is it's allowed me to finally be able to enjoy meetings and podcasts and more during this time. And this kind of goes to why I wanted Chamira to dive deeper into her podcast, because, last week when he was talking about Final Cut Pro, he also mentioned Capture One that he was learning. This is a great time for you to expand your horizons in so many ways. And that literally could be putting a podcast on while you're just, doing yoga, whatever it is. There are ways for you to learn sitting in front of a computer, doing a meeting, listening to something in your backyard. Take advantage of all of those.
In fact, one more thing here. In fact, let's see. Dave is in the chat room. I got an email from Dave, or maybe it was an IM on Facebook. I don't remember, this morning, just asking about, they want to start their own f64 lunch bunch in their area. This is an opportunity, everybody, to get together with other photographers too. I mean, we're talking about other vendors and other business people, but this is a great opportunity to get together in cyberspace, maintain your social distancing, follow the guidelines within your community if you're actually in a full lockdown. But being able to get together and talk about the business, talk about some of the challenges you had before this thing happened, it's just a great way to be able to expand those relationships.
And I think that, like, for a lot of us, or a lot of people, we're not huge fans of talking on the phone, and we've fallen. It's been very easy in the last however many years to fall into texting and emailing to stay in touch with people, but you lose that human element. And in business, face-to-face is always going to be better than texting or emailing. We can't do face-to-face right now, but we can do phone calls, and phone calls have also fallen off to the side of the road. And so you picking up the phone and talking to even another photographer in your area, that might be somebody that you can now refer clients to back and forth when this is all done. Picking up the phone and talking to a vendor when they only see you when you're under pressure on a job or at a wedding, but talking to them without that pressure could change your whole relationship with them. So it doesn't have to be a long conversation. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 5 minutes, but just reaching out and creating that personal connection will make a huge difference.
Steve, can you bring up that one slide? Because we're all talking about things you can do during downtime to expand your skill set and your marketing, but I know everybody is also looking for revenue. This is one that just came in yesterday, the Photographer Fund. It was out of Resource Magazine. I'll have the link in the summary notes tomorrow morning when the videotape of today goes live. Also, if you're panic-stricken and you've got issues related to lost revenue and you're trying to figure out what am I going to do in terms of taxes and everything else, go take a look, wander into Google and just type in the words financial assistance during Corona, and that'll probably get you to a dozen different programs or more that are out there. We're all waiting to see what happens with the checks that come from Congress as the result of the stimulus bill. But there are so many other things that are out there. Last week, we talked about if you've got a Fannie Mae mortgage, and we shared the link for that. If you're missing some of those links, just go back to some of the previous posts on my blog, and you'll see the links that are there that you can click on, so that if you're stuck and you're saying, wait a minute, this is great to talk about all I can do to improve myself and my business, but I need revenue right now. Here's an opportunity. Also, those of you that are portrait and wedding, children, any kind of anything in that portrait social category, guys, your files right now are worth more than they have ever been worth, because they all represent memories. And Throwback Thursday, which I've always loved, seriously, a powerful throwback image might at this point only be 5 weeks old. Back before this happened. Also, I mentioned it last week. I want to remind everybody again, if you're a senior photographer, this year's graduating class is going to have one of the most quiet celebrations. It's unlikely that there are going to be a lot of monstrous graduation ceremonies going on anywhere in the country, or in the world for that matter. Take advantage of that and be able to, I know Marathon has a program for grad cards. This is an opportunity. You've got to find ways to help your seniors. You've got images that you photographed of them, and you've got a lot of pride in that work, and so do their parents and you. Here's an opportunity for you to look at some of the things that are out there that you can provide to your clients that create an opportunity so the graduation this year just doesn't slip through the cracks, because it's going to be a very quiet graduation for an awful lot of people.
You know, Bob Coates made the comment that I'm preaching to the choir about, you know, talking about listen to podcasts and things like that. But I mention it for a reason. We still tend to be in our groove, right? Every time as Skip knows, I go to Del Taco for lunch every day. And I listen to the same podcasts every day. Well, now's a time, because you've got extra time, to actually expand those horizons. So if you already listen to podcasts and if you already try and improve your skills, find something new that you can do. As an example, Lori mentioned in our chat that she's learning digital painting, which is amazing. I mean, those are the type of things that you can do to just kind of get yourself forward more. Steve King said he just found out about the Zoom. How do I get more info about what you're doing with f64? And Steve, just go to Skip's site, which is...
Go to skipcohenuniversity.com. If you type f64 up in the search box, it'll take you into all of the programs so far. You can also go to Skip Cohen University on YouTube. What I like about the blog connection is that I've now started putting in the video from the webinar in with the blog post, but then it also has all of the links. Like if you go to last Friday's, there must have been a dozen or more links that we shared of places you could get more help and things that were going on in the industry that every photographer ought to know about.
Can I just add one more thing to what you said earlier, Skip, where you talked about...
No, you can't. Cannot add anything.
Where you talked about where if you have a Fannie Mae loan or mortgage, you know, there's a lot of the banks and the credit card companies and the lenders are really being helpful right now. So whether you have a mortgage, car payment, whatever it is, Wells Fargo, Chase, all of these big lenders, all you have to do is call them up, tell them that you've lost work because of the coronavirus, that all of your bookings have been canceled, and they're deferring payments. And many times it's interest free so for example, if you have a car payment, they'll do it for 3 months, and then they'll be happy to extend it if you reach out to them again. And it just gets added to the end of your loan. And, you know, sometimes, yes, you're trying to find ways to make money, but also it's the current expenses that you have. And if you can just relieve some of that pressure and save yourself $1,000, $2,000, maybe more over these next few months, that can really make the difference in helping you to survive and get through this until you've got work again. So car payments, mortgage payments, student loans, as you already said, credit card companies and even utilities are happy to defer these payments until the summertime, when those payments from your clients start coming in again, and you can catch up and make those payments again. So that really has helped a lot of people that I know.
John Cornicello in the Q&A asked a great question for you four ladies that I'm really, because you guys are all, and actually, again, Skip, all five of you guys are very active online with online content. And what John asked is ideas for driving people to your online content. How do you plug your YouTube or your educational blog if you are not a big name celebrity? I mean, there's people out there that they say something and everybody runs. But for the average person that's trying in this off time to drive more viewers to their online content, what do you guys suggest people do to build that?
Go for it.
I would say my biggest suggestion is to make sure you talk about as many other people as you can, because as soon as you're telling somebody else's story, they want to share the content as well. And so that's been important for me just locally, is not, I don't care about here's my last session, here's my last job, blah, blah, blah. I want to tell people stories. And it was mentioned earlier that I think Chamira said that, you know, we are oftentimes can write because we're photographers, because that's what we do, is we tell people stories. And so even your clients, if you can, you know, you heard something inspirational last year, now you got time to actually write about it, call them and say, you know, hey, I want to interview you, talk to you a little bit more about what was happening last year, what's happening now. And tell your story. I want to help you share it. And you can do that with vendors, other vendors. You could do it with celebrities celebrated people in your area. You know, all of our areas have different, you know, the top 40 under 40, the sages over 70. They've got all these different things.
Wait, what was that last one?
The sages over 70. We have that locally. But, you know,
sages over 70? Okay.
I got to say, that's one I have never heard.
Is that a new one? Awesome. Well, you can look for these locally in your local publications, radio stations, wherever they're celebrating things like this. Even the top 40 doctors or whatever is being listed in your area. This is something that I've done in my business for years and years, is when these lists come out, I want to connect with each one of those people and say, congratulations on this. I would love to photograph your family in celebration of, and it's a free session, and then I'm going to sell to them. So tying that back to this is telling people stories. As soon as we're telling someone else's story, a business owner, a client, whatever that looks like, they want to share the message. And so on a bigger range, if you are writing about the photography industry, for example, make sure you're tying in your equipment and links to those companies. Make sure that you're tying in, you could even tie in other influencers, you know, tag Nikon ambassador Dixie Dixon. And then you've got these different links that are happening not only for your SEO, but just for interest. People are coming and saying, oh, like she's talking about what this cover that Dixie just got. And someone is saying, you know, I'm a Nikon user too, and I'm inspired by this. And now she's talking about Dixie, and Dixie's going to share that. She's telling Dixie's story, right? So as much as we can do that for each other, that's going to help us get the word out there.
Well, another extension of John's question too is do guest posts. Get together with some other people that are also blogging and share content so that your content, you're swapping content. Everybody has a problem. Most of you have a problem. I don't have a problem because this is what I do for a living. I somehow have morphed into a writer and a blogger. But for those of you that have got full-time photography businesses, which is obviously down now, this is a good time to build some content, but it's also a good time to use some of those relationships with other friends. And if, for example, I keep using wedding photographers as an example, but let's assume you've got a blog and you're a wedding photographer, but you really you're not crazy about photographing newborns, but you have an associate, a friend that does, swap some content about the challenges in photographing newborn. And that's going to appear on your site, and your name is going to be over on a link on their site. Also, to Chamira's point, check with some of your vendors. Go back and look at old photographs of clients and look at every product that might have been used. For example, we talked about, I think we mentioned it last week, Bob and Dawn Davis, after they photograph a wedding or event, will send images to the other vendors that were also at the event of their flower arrangements, of the buffet table, of the table settings, of the band, and just put a note on it, you know, with our blessing. The idea is being able to share content. Now, as you share more content, people are going to share it with you, and that also helps spread the word about your blog.
What about you, Melissa? How are you sharing stuff or promoting?
Exactly what Lori and Skip said. And I think a lot of it is a mindset as well, because a lot of times when we're sharing content or putting stuff out there, we tend to be a little bit precious about it. And we're like, well, I don't want to give everything away for free. Or when vendors, you know, we're giving images to vendors and other people that we work with, we're like, well, they're not really doing anything for us. So why do I have to put in all this effort to get things to them? And the one thing that I've learned over the years is that being generous always comes back to you. So you really have to get out of that mindset. You can't be of the mindset that you're trying to protect all of your assets. The more you give it out there, the more you put it out there, the more it will come back to you. And it happens every single time. So being generous with vendors, being generous with your content that's out there, putting out as much information means that people are going to want more of it. And so they'll come to you looking for more. And then that's how you bring attention to your work and to what you do and to getting more business in the future.
I think it's important too to just say at this time, there's a difference between working for free and generosity. And that's what a lot of photographers get so worried about or they're doing too much of it. I'm working for free, I'm working for free. And then they get wrapped up in this scarcity mentality. Well, that is a totally different thing. than being generous. And that's what Melissa was just talking about.
Well, and to that point, actually, there's a big difference between working for free and marketing, right? If you already got paid to shoot a wedding,
right,
and then you are turning around while you're at the wedding and shooting the buffet table and supplying those pictures to the venue, well, you kind of got paid to be there that day. And as an added bonus, you're building a networking apparatus and you're marketing yourself to those vendors. I keep going back to Troy in the room because I learned so many, again, wedding photographer. I DJ'd weddings for 18 years. I wouldn't photograph them for the life of me. You'd have to, yeah. But I learned so much from how he deals with this because that's what he does. Right? He passes on pictures to a caterer or to a florist. And then you know what? That florist refers him. And that network that he's built of people who love his work and love working with he and his wife Margie, that in and of itself is invaluable. The other thing I always recommend to people is don't share just your own content. I mean, yes, on my Twitter account I post when I release a podcast episode. But I share what I consider to be good content. And 90% of that is from other people, right? People watch my feed, very few of them, but they watch my feed for good content, not just me hawking myself all day long over and over. What are you doing nowadays with this, Chamira?
I want to give a plug for having a newsletter, actually. And to John's question about getting your work out there, even if you're not a big name celebrity, you certainly don't have to be. I'm finding that even starting locally can carry a lot of power. I can't count how many times I've been at a professional shoot, and I service mainly businesses, and they'll say, hey, I just bought this, insert camera name here, and I just paid $800, $1,000 for it, something in that range. And I have no idea how to use it. Do you have any tips? And it used to frustrate me because I'm in the middle of a shoot and I'm trying to focus and I'm thinking I don't have time to give you advice right now. I mean, I didn't say that to them. I'd offer what help I could, but I found that now, especially, I have more time to put out photo tips to my newsletter, which when I say newsletter, that's for my own personal business. So not the podcast. I'm putting out tips there too, but my own local clients, putting out photo tips and being the photo expert for them actually can lead to more bookings. And I've seen this happen in the past. Prior to the virus, one particular newsletter I put out, I didn't pimp any of my own stuff. I just put out some fun photo tips. And I actually ended up getting bookings from that because they trusted me more as a photo expert. So it is about being generous and helping people take better photos of, for example, their families now that they're stuck at home. But being generous in that way can directly lead to more bookings in the future because you're staying top of mind. You're being a photo expert. Hopefully you're being a nice, likable person. If they like you, know you, trust you, that can lead to more bookings in the future. So that helps me.
I want to piggyback on something that Paolo wrote here. Dixie brought up a great point. Shoot the content you want to get hired for and then submit your ideas and work to them. Everybody right now has got time to clean up your website. Take a look at your galleries. I have been on so many galleries where I have to start out and I have to ask the photographer, what's your goal here? What's the pie chart look like in terms of what do you want your business to represent? And years ago, I did a website review of a friend in Ohio who's essentially a sports photographer. And in the middle of all of this, he had a so-so, in fact, it wasn't so-so, it was terrible, gallery of wedding images. And I said, why is that there? He said, well, somebody wanted me to shoot a wedding, I can shoot it. Yeah, but it's not what he wants his business to be. So remember, to Dixie's point and to Paolo's comment just now, take a look at your website and look at the way you've laid out your galleries. Do your galleries from top to bottom, and when I say top to bottom, I'm talking about the first thing you list to the last thing you list. Are they representative of the priority you want in your business? If you're a wedding photographer, then that's where it should start. If you're children and family, that's another spot. Now, if you love doing landscape work, but you've never done anything in fine art, you just like to have it there to share with people, then put it in a category called personal as opposed to people coming in and thinking you're a landscape photographer. So make your website representative of what it is you want to sell.
And have contact information. There's a lot of people who, if they go to a website and they see a contact form, and only a contact form, they won't fill it out, especially if you have a CAPTCHA where they have to choose how many spotlights or street lights are in the pictures. So thank gosh for zooming in on the screen, because half the time I'm wondering which picture has the streetlights in it. So put an email address there. Put a phone number there if you have one. Get a Google Voice number where you can block people if you want to. Dixie, you didn't get to answer the question on what you're doing promoting online content.
I actually want to piggyback on something that Skip just said, and Chamira. I just went through the process of updating my website, and it's so hard to go through all your archives and figure out which pictures are going to fit and whatnot. But I had interviewed a couple art directors or art buyers for different ad agencies, and they said people have such short attention spans that they're looking for, when you first go to a website, to have like your best 20 images on the page so people can like ultimately get a picture of who you are, what you love to shoot, what your vision is. So having that, so that was one of the main things that I focused on, was like picking out my favorite 20 images of the kind of work that I love to shoot and want to be shooting. Because like Skip said, you've got to show what it is that you want to shoot. So that was a fun process, and I just updated my logo as well. And doing these things I never have time to do is a really good time to do that. But I post a lot of behind the scenes content. We do behind the scenes video on every shoot. So I'll post like the final image plus the behind the scenes content on my Instagram and Instagram stories and whatnot. And just really keeping in touch and commenting. I think one of the biggest parts of social media is also commenting on other people's stuff. Getting excited about other people's work is such a big thing. And for me, I'm constantly inspired when I log into social media and I have all these photographers, you guys included, that I just follow, and I'm just like, God, I'm just blown away by what they do. So commenting on that and taking the time to do that, I think, is really big.
I want to touch on something because John came back in to clarify this. He said, to clarify, he's not looking for new photo clients or bookings, just trying to get some educational content out there, his YouTube channel. So we'll mention it right now. Actually, his YouTube channel is iCornice. But he's not even trying to monetize it right now. He's just trying to get it out there. And John, what I would say to you is, this is where that networking comes in. Put it out there, but put it out there with other good content as well, and ask people to reshare it. Yes, here I just mentioned it, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of getting it out there at a point where other people are willing to hit retweet. And I would also suggest use social media that it's easier to share on. So Instagram actually can be very difficult to share some other people's stuff. If you do an Instagram story, that's not always easy to share in your own stories unless you're tagged in it. So build up those networks like a Twitter or a Facebook where you can reshare them more easily, excuse me, and kind of get that foot traffic. This one has 2 thumbs up from Daniel. In my normal life, I'm a head of purchasing, and his, standard rule is email and WhatsApp is for information, not for communication. And communication is face-to-face, phone, Skype, or similar, because in the voice you hear something, and in writing it's often misunderstood. So I wanted to hit this one because this is important to me. My biggest pet peeve is good communication is so much easier than bad communication. So why is it that most people have horrible communication? Understand what different speeds people answer. Email is something that can sit in an inbox and they'll answer when they get to it. And if you email somebody, you have to understand there's a different priority level to that. Texting is different. You know it's buzzing on their hip, but they may get to it when they get to it. A phone call, they're going to answer and you're going to get their voice. So many times in writing, things can easily be misunderstood because there's no inflection. As soon as you add voice to it, then you understand a pregnant pause. You understand an inflection going up or going down. And when you add face to it with FaceTime or Zoom or Skype, again, you add another dimension to that communication. Use all of them to your benefit. And if you don't need to interrupt somebody's day with a face call, send an email.
I actually love voice messages, and not on your voice machine, but just clicking the voice in a text or clicking the voice button in in Messenger and talking to somebody instead of texting it out. And I've had a lot of people that have actually said, "Oh, it was so great to hear your voice," and they get back right away because of that. But it is that same thing. We can't communicate properly, like you said, in a written text. And I don't know about you guys, but Siri hates me. She never understands when I'm talking to text.
There's times I think Siri is deaf.
that is possible. But we can all push that button and actually use our voice to send a message, and then people can hear that we care, or, you know, whatever message that you're trying to send. So
I often teach about how to handle clients when they're unhappy or they have a complaint against you. And that's like my number one rule, is that you never do it over email, because however a person is feeling is how they're going to read that email or that text. So if someone's stressed out, or someone's under pressure, or someone's, you know, just had a fight with their kid or something and they're angry, then when they see your email or their text, they're actually going to be reading it in that tone of voice, which may be completely not what you're coming across as, but that's how they're hearing it. So, you know, to all of that, yes, I guess we're all in agreement that you always talk to them.
I'm excited to hear the answer from you guys for this one.
Hello.
Spicy Jello, which is my buddy Troy. Does anyone have a non-photographic creative outlet? Lori, I know you mentioned digital painting.
I will say, though, that digital painting, not to interrupt the flow of that question, but I am selfishly doing that right now, because if it happens that we have to somehow go to a virtual photograph, for example, if in 6 months from now I can't photograph somebody one-on-one, I want to be able to take their photo just like this, still pose them, even if it's a family, a couple, whatever, or with the phone, pose them, and then I want to be able to paint that portrait. So I've always outsourced it before, but I'm interested in learning it now, just because it may be an income opportunity in the future.
Anyone else? I know Troy does pottery, so I'm curious if anybody else is doing anything, you know.
I'll put mine around so you can see. I play the piano. So kind of a fun thing. I've always done it as a kid, but it's sort of therapy for me. So playing an instrument is good.
Love that. I play saxophone. We should team up.
I love it.
I played French horn for 10 years, and you can't exactly pull your French horn out at a party and go, "Hey, everybody, come on, sing along."
We should have a band.
Yes.
You
know, there's so many photographers that are musically inclined. I mean, Jerry sings, and so many people I know play an instrument.
Rick Salmon plays guitar. David Bergman went to Berklee School of Music, same as Rick did.
Wow.
Frank Dorhoff is a musician. Jefferson Graham is a musician.
Scott Kelby is guitar. Tony Corbell is drums.
Yep.
In fact, we had that.
Yes, we did.
That at WPPI over the years with Jerry singing lead vocal.
So cool.
Yeah.
What are you doing creatively other than photography, Chamira?
For me, exercise actually is wonderful therapy. I find that when I get anxious, especially if I've listened to the news too much, which I'm getting better at, actually going out for a walk, or I have kind of I don't want to call it a home gym, but I have a lot of equipment here at home. Just getting my body moving is actually wonderful. And that's when I have my best business ideas. Strangely enough, when I'm trying not to think about business is when they come flooding in. So I find that I always keep a notebook next to me whenever I'm doing any exercising or going out for a walk. So, and I have a banjo. I also have a banjo.
You play banjo?
So, well, I have one. I can play a little bit. So it's
on the wall.
Progress. Working on it.
I love that. I think some of our best ideas come when we're not actually, like you said, Chamira, like engaged in business 24/7.
Yes.
Because our minds are free enough to let those ideas flow. Like I do meditation every morning. I have a meditation app that I try to silence my mind for 20 minutes. And you wouldn't believe the ideas that start coming after that meditative process. So I think that's really cool to have an outlet that's not related to your business.
And there's a lot of people. Steven said guitar. Bob said cooking. Daniel said Wing Chun. I do martial arts myself, although can't go to the dojo now. You can do it at home. So a lot of people are doing different things. Before we run out of time, there's a question I wanted to ask the ladies that I haven't had a chance to, and that is, in the music photography space, I hear stories and have seen female photographers in a photo pit at a concert be treated radically different than men. And I'm kind of curious, for the four of you, how have you seen in the photographic world in general? Do you have any better way to word it is, for young ladies coming up in photography, do you have any tips for them to help them on their journey through the photography world?
Man, I can't tell you how many times I have been at a wedding with a second shooter, and to have wedding guests and people come up to me or come up to my second shooter asking them for something because they assume that he's the lead photographer, and that I'm the second shooter, or I'm the assistant, or they'll ask me to do something because they think I'm the other photographer's assistant. I mean, it's gotten better now because we have so many more women photographers in our industry, which is amazing. And women are taking over, in my opinion. We're making such a huge impact on the photography industry, and it's amazing to see. So thankfully it's less and less, but it's still definitely an issue. And I would say for any woman who is starting out or is currently in the industry, you have to not be shy. You know, shy people go hungry. And so you are who you are. You're doing what you love. This is your passion. You're good at it. So just own it, and don't be sorry about it. Don't be shy about it. Just go out there and own it and kick butt.
So I think it'll be super interesting to hear what Dixie has to say, because she's young and she's so dang cute that there's probably some stigma just because of that.
You are too.
But having been in the industry for over 25 years, when I came into this industry, it was very male dominated. And I was the little girl running around doing stuff that the guys were all saying, you can't do that. You can't talk about that. Definitely don't get on stage and talk about that. I was one of those natural light people that Skip likes to make fun of. But this was back in the film days, you know, when it was everybody had a studio. It was old masters photography. And then I came around chasing kids in backyards. And so I was very much the oh no, you know. But today I would 100% agree with Melissa that women have taken over this industry. And it may be a little bit different in the music industry, which that's why I think too it'll be interesting, because Dixie does so much commercial work, and maybe still a tad in the wedding industry, but I feel like the portrait industry, I mean, the men feel more at a disadvantage than the women do.
It's because we see different than you. I mean, literally, we see different. Everybody sees a scene different, to men, to women. But I think we see the portraiture different. Dixie, what about you?
Yeah, I would mirror what Melissa and Lori, you guys are saying. I'm very much an introvert, and I grew up very much shy. So owning your confidence and speaking up more about your vision has been something that I've had to learn, because I'm not sort of an overpowering personality on set. I'm more very relaxed, and I'm very collaborative in the way that I shoot. So for me, the commercial industry, it's so male dominated. And a lot of clients, sometimes they just want to hire a male photographer because they're afraid that a woman can't sometimes handle this big production or 20 people on set. So for me, that's when the behind the scenes videos became really important, to show the kind of production that I can put together and lead. So that's why I started doing so many behind the scenes videos. And that's why so many clients now come to me for not only the shoot, but also the behind the scenes look at it. And they also see that I can handle that type of production, because I feel like in some ways I constantly have to keep proving myself on every single shoot. But it's a fun adventure, and I think that as women we have a different vision, a different way of working with clients. For instance, I shoot a lot of swimwear models, and I feel like people a lot of times hire me now to shoot that because I have a different viewpoint than maybe a lot of male photographers would have when they're shooting swimwear. So you got to use it to your advantage, and you got to look at it as an asset as opposed to looking at it as a whatever you call it.
Well, and I would argue it's not even looking at it as an asset.
Yeah.
You have to recognize
Yeah,
it actually is an asset.
It is.
It's not just your viewpoint that it is. It's an asset. Use that. Chamira, what about you?
You know, I found that for me, knowing my subject matter or my client has been really helpful. When I first got into photography, I guess you could say professionally, but I was an employee of a motorcycle magazine. We would have motorcycle shows across the country. And a lot of times, you know, I show up and I'm, you know, looking a little bit different than the average motorcycle person. And a lot of times I was surrounded by tough men, or even, well, always motorcycle gangs, people who have been drinking all day. And then there's me wandering around. And, you know, what I found was that no matter how different we may seem or how people perceive you, we all have something in common always. And working at a motorcycle magazine, at a bike myself, people would see me coming with my camera and they would be a little bit, they'd look at me like, what is she doing? And then I compliment their bike and we start talking bikes. And all of a sudden you're on the same ground. So knowing your subject, I think, is really helpful. I can't really speak to music photography or concert photography because I don't do that, but I do know that from the motorcycle shows, I mean, you can't be shy. Sometimes you have to be a little bit pushy. Sometimes you have to speak your mind. You always have to be confident. Dixie, I feel you. I'm an introvert too. I am. But when I'm at a photo session or engaging with people, you can't, you know, and I know you feel this way too. We can't let stuff get to us because of our gender or our race or whatever. I'm not someone who's going to focus on that. Sometimes I enjoy it. Like if people are underestimating me, I almost feel like I'm at an advantage because they don't know what's coming. And I get a little bit of a kick out of that. So I don't know, just don't let stuff get to you. You know,
I love that. I love that.
Chamira's got a mean right hook.
A left hook. I'm left-handed.
Left hook. Oh, sorry. Hey,
Skip, before we run out of time, did you want to show this QuaranCon thing?
Yes. Just in terms, go ahead, bring it up. There it is. Just in terms of this program, next week, we're not going to meet. We're not going to do a lunch bunch because April 8th and 9th, and I believe it's going to go to the 10th now, is QuaranCon. And to find out more about it, there's the address at the bottom, mentor.photo. And it's really remarkable. Last night when I talked to Brent Watkins, who had this idea, who, by the way, I suggested don't do it. It's because just the amount of work it takes to put one of these together. Brent is a wedding and family and senior photographer in Barberton, Ohio. It's a little town near Akron. He and his wife have built up a great business. Brent started working at this particular Silvart studio when he was a kid and just said, wow, there's a need to give back. And Brent perpetually gives back all the time. So he put this thing together. And from last night when I talked to him to this morning, they went from 1,800 followers on Facebook to somewhere around 2,200, and I'm sure it's even higher now. So we're not going to meet next week because Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday now, they're going to be doing QuaranCon. All the information is up at mentor.photo. And then the week after, we'll be back on Wednesday, and we're going to have some fun, and we're going to mix this up again, focus mostly on weddings. We're going to have 3 of those windows. We'll have couples in them. I know Bob and Dawn Davis are going to join us, and Jennifer and Chuck Maring will be with us. And also, just as a reminder for everybody, there are so many resources out there for you to draw ideas from. Go into YouTube and type in the name of any photographer that you admire. Go to the companies and the products you use and look at their YouTube channel. This is going to sound like a shameless marketing promotion, but Instagram and the blog for Platypod, who's a company that I work with and love dearly, the Instagram page is loaded not with ideas from Platypod, but with ideas from Platypod users of things that they're doing. All of you have your blogs. All of you have your Facebook pages. All of you have your websites. everybody here has got something going on. And before I forget, Dixie, Larry Becker wanted me to say hi. So now I didn't forget that Larry said hi.
I watched his y'all's awesome yesterday.
Well, get out there, utilize, this is a time to take a little while each morning, and maybe it's over a cup of coffee, and just go in to one of these resources, just looking for ideas. You're going to see something that somebody, I was about to say in the middle of Iowa, and I can't make fun of Iowa when we got Lori here, but you're going to find somebody that is out there that you've never heard of, and they're doing something really unique. And maybe you're going to be able to take that and spin it in your own direction, because this is the time to absolutely let your creative juices just flow. And one of the things Scott Bourne said a number of years ago was photography is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are, what your financial background is, what anything is in your background. It's sort of like the voice. If your images are good and you're maintaining that quality, that's what starts to speak from you, for you. That's what happens when I get tired. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of you guys, everybody for being here, our attendees that joined us today. Follow everything on skipcohenuniversity.com. This video will be up there tomorrow, along with some of the links. If anybody wants to throw in any closing advice or comments, feel free to jump in, because we already went over our time limit anyway.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It's so good to see all your faces.
Yeah, I miss you
guys. Melissa's buying martinis today at 5. Yep. I'm not sure where we go, but Melissa's buying. Hey, everybody, I kept quoting NYPD Blue. It was Hill Street Blues with Sergeant Esterhaus. Just to remind everybody, be careful out there.